like Mike, thanks everyone for being here. Again, my name is Jason. Excuse me for not having my camera on right now. I'm working on limited internet just to be with you guys. So I'll just start sharing my screen so you guys could join in the conversation that we're gonna be having for the next hour. All right. So again, I'm Jason Bruno. I'm the development and innovations lead at Abakada Studios, along with other titles that I'll be explaining along the way. So today we'll be discussing WordPress as the number one content management system out there. So let's begin with knowing more about me. I am the founder of the WordPress Baguio user group. Also, that's my day job is as a development and innovations lead for Abakada Studios. I'm also a seasoned software engineer with, believe it or not, over 3 decades of coding experience. And that led me to being the head teacher of a top coding bootcamp here in the Philippines. And I'm also like a renowned resource speaker, expert, community builder, and just being a mentor to everyone. So feel free to look me up. I'm going to be posting some links later on so that you could check out my profile, go ask me anything. It's okay. So, but we'll be having an ask me anything session after this. So, yep. So I'm gonna be looking at your chats from time to time. Make sure that you post in any comments or any questions that you have along the way, but we'll be consolidating them all after. Okay, so moving forward, Abacada Studios, my day job, I really love education so much. So that's why I joined the local startup that that focuses on providing tools for schools locally mostly and some learning institutions. So if there are like corporate to their employees, we're there to help. We provide learning other tools like enrollment systems for them. And one thing that we focus on right now is gamification. So we do gamified learning experiences for students or learners. So no, that doesn't like like that does not stop at just like kids games. It could be like an adult game. It could be just a basic leaderboard badges. So that's all that we do from on day in day out basis. We also do some other like stuff in the terms of managing your schools like HRIS, like providing accounting systems, but those are all on the side. Our main focus is providing good learning experiences to everyone in our clientele. So WordPress, okay, as I am the founder of one of the official WordPress user groups, it's one of I think 5 or 6 in the Philippines. So this is one is for Baguio, which is north of the Philippines, and we're around 500 strong users just in that area alone. But in the whole Philippines, there are like thousands. So WordPress.org actually is powered by community. That's why we have all these user groups. You could go to meetup.com and search up WordPress, and you should probably like find a city close to you so that you could join the groups. I'll be discussing that more later. So let's look at some numbers because I'm here to prove to you that WordPress is still the number one CMS in the market out there. No matter how people would say that otherwise or other products are better. Of course, they could be better, but let's look at some numbers. 43% of the internet right now is powered by WordPress. So that includes most of your um, loved websites. Some web apps might also be powered by WordPress. 60% of all the CMS powered ones are built on WordPress. So that includes other CMS, Drupal, Squarespace, Wix, Joomla. WordPress dominates it by 60%. 14.7% of the world's top websites, that includes White House, that includes NASA, that includes even Facebook is using WordPress for their blog. Okay, so that should tell you a lot with the choice of technologies that these institutions are making, that WordPress is still something that they could depend on, considering that it's almost 20-year-old, a 20-year-old technology. Okay, so there are 500 websites that are built each day on WordPress. Compare that to other platforms like Wix or Squarespace. That's around 60 to 80 websites a day. And the WordPress repository contains 55,000 plugins. So you could choose from like contact forms, you could choose your SEO plugin, you could choose your it's almost like everything that you can think of that WordPress should be able to do is already done, and it's in a plugin form. And that's something that I normally would stand by whenever I speak about WordPress, is there is a plugin for anything. If there's none, it's your moral duty that to create one. And being like me doing that for years, it's something that's already proven. Now, WooCommerce, the WordPress plugin for creating shops, creating e-commerce websites, powers 22% of the top 1 million e-commerce sites in the world. So that still tops e-commerce website engines like Shopify or like even other smaller platforms. Now, this map can be found at wordpress.com/activity. This map shows how many posts, how many comments, how many likes are being made just on one platform alone, which is WordPress.com. Okay, so that's around like 17 to 20 posts a day, even more comments and even more likes. The way that they could track this is by installing by like using the pre-installed plugin called Jetpack. So which is so cool that WordPress can already track how many posts are being done on their platform. Okay, so do not be confused with WordPress.com and WordPress.org. WordPress.com is the platform to that anyone can sign up as a free account. Then you can start creating your own website, creating your own blog. WordPress.org is what we call the as you could you should be installing it yourself. You should be buying your own. They provide the source code to you. You could extend it, you could expand it, you could change it however you want it. So, okay, I'm still seeing a lot of chat messages in there. All right. Yeah, so sorry about internet. Internet is like really um bad right now because of the typhoon coming in here in the Philippines. So yeah, just let me know on the chat if there are like glitches on the internet. Okay, so looking at how did that happen? Okay, so clue, it's not overnight. It's not. It doesn't work that way. It's not using any kind of like magic algorithm. It's not even considered as viral. Okay, the growth came from if you calculate it using the constructive cost method, there should be around 151 person years, okay, worth of code in there. 55,000, that should amount to around $8 million of code. Okay, so that's how much you need to be as like successful as WordPress is right now. Okay, so let's look at some like keywords on WordPress history, because I'm not gonna like spend all this time talking about history because it's boring. Okay, it started 2003. So the code was forked by Matt Mullenweg and Mike Little from its predecessor, which is a blogging engine called Cafe Log or B2. Okay, so it's built using MySQL, is that's the most popular language before. And I still could say that this combo still powers 90% of the internet. Okay, so it's still relevant. No need to worry about why is it not using React or Node.js or anything. Okay, PHP is fine. So it's okay. It's still working. It's still the number one. It's still relevant. Plus, I'm gonna be talking more about scalability later on. So B2 or Cafe Log, this is the good part. B2 Cafe Log was made by a guy called Michael Baldrigi, okay, which is now a contributor to WordPress. Okay, so see how that turned around from like the original code owner being a contributor now to the fork of its former code base. So that's something that's good trivia to know about WordPress. So another thing that contributed to its growth is the moving target. Okay, so this is not something that a lot of startups are doing. A lot of startups would go like, "Who's your target? Everyone. Who's your target? Everyone that does this. Everyone that does that." They don't have a definite demographic. Whereas in WordPress, they did something like that, but they targeted people who with specific skill sets, like creators, like bloggers. Okay, so that's what they did. So those guys are the ones applying it to their industries. So they marketed this one as something that you could use in your field of work or your field of study. Now, what happened is those creators are now being empowered by a platform to be doing to be publishing their work online. So that's the power of having a dynamic target market. Again, the target is not everyone. The target for WordPress are creators or bloggers. Okay, just like YouTube is for creators, TikTok is for creators. Okay, so there it's not like targeted to either everyone. It's not targeted to like just a specific group of people. Okay, so here's another thing that you should consider with creating your own startups is WordPress allowed people to create themes for their platform. Okay, so it's not just like open source as a platform. It's open source as even at the level of themes. Then you could also modify how it behaves using plugins. Now, if you're a hardcore coder, okay, you could also use actions, hooks, or other templating tools out there that are available for WordPress. This can be used, actions and hooks can be used both in themes and plugins. So it's very friendly to developers. What's good about it is you don't need to be a developer to create your own website, but they also have a platform for developers because a lot of people actually including myself, started as just a user of WordPress. Okay, even though I'm already a developer, I just used it, no code, just created a website. And then since I'm a developer, I feel the need that it should have this and this functionalities. So I have the capacity to create that as a plugin so that I could also share it to others. So that's before even like GitHub started, before like you could publish your own piece of code online. There is already a repository for WordPress using an older version of software versioning system. Okay, so another thing that it did is actually um, a, a huge disruption. A lot of people don't know about the disruption that was made by WordPress. So it's actually something that's even affecting everyone right now. There is a very, very, very blur, gray line between webmaster, web designers, and web developers. These things now can be used interchangeably, just like the word app. Okay, so the word app can be used for anything right now. That's how what Apple did to the software industry. What WordPress did is now everyone's a web developer, or a web developer, like would just be wanted to call a webmaster. Okay, so the difference, the definition of all this became the same using a single platform, and that's just WordPress. Okay, feel free to like, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, or if you have other definitions in mind on the chat. It's always cool to know how people view this right now, because it's a common question with a lot of people. That what's the difference between the web designer and webmaster? What's the difference between web developer and web designer? In our case, in WordPress, we don't actually care. It's like everybody's however you want to call yourself, as long as you're a WordPress user. That's how free spirited we are in here. Okay, so another thing that happened is low code versus no code. Okay, so no code it is what it is. Low code is something that a platform tries to impart some of the coding abilities to the user, but they could skip it if they don't want to. That's how WordPress works. By the way, you could use it with or without code if you want to. All right. So moving forward, let me just quickly check on the chat. Yep, got people in there chatting. Okay, so moving forward, next slide is community. This is something that's often forgotten or overlooked or disregarded by a lot of companies, especially corporate ones. Community is actually one of the best things that you could do for your company. Start it early, right after you created your branding, include it in your checklist to create a community. It's super easy right now. You could open up a Facebook group for anything. So yeah, I've got questions coming in. Yeah, I'm gonna answer some of the questions later. Just let's just go on with the whole presentation. It won't be too long anyway. Okay, so WordPress official communities can be found at meetup.com. That I mentioned that earlier. This is one of the meetup.com WordPress communities, which is the way to figure out if it's official or not is if the organizer, one of the organizers, is WordPress. Okay, and then the other people are like, yeah, the actual organizer. So in this case, it's me, and we got 510 members as of earlier today, I think, when I took this screenshot. So they're paying for it. They're spending money, paying for hundreds, or no, thousands now of user groups to be on meetup.com. Okay, so WordPress sites, other WordPress, like there is a community website for WordPress. There is a learn website for WordPress, sub websites for WordPress. There is a very vibrant community in the plugins section of WordPress. You could actually talk about a plugin, raise some issues, even just plainly chat with support. So that's how they do how they support their themes and plugins are all via the WordPress website. Another thing that they actually have publicly is a GitHub mirror or a copy of their the current source code of WordPress along with other plugins like Gutenberg, other plugins that are WordPress owned are on GitHub. So that's forgot to put it in here, but it's github.com/WordPress if you want to check them out. There are hundreds of developers in there that you could also interact with. Not on this list are Slack groups. There are multiple groups for Slack or WordPress. Like here in the Philippines, we got one whole Slack group just for the whole Philippines. All the regions are converging into one Slack group. Discord, I think some might have Discord, but not in anywhere in like my circle. So feel free to just like go around. I'm pretty sure you'll find thousands of people in group together for a certain like demographic on WordPress. So let's say you're a person from India, just go for India WordPress or something. I'm pretty sure you could find that on Facebook as well. Here in the Philippines, three, we got four main WordPress Philippines Facebook groups. Three of those I'm an admin as well. And those collectively has, I think, more than 40,000 users that I co-manage with other leads. So another thing that is often overlooked, okay, aside from the community, is the culture. Okay, never mind the pay, never mind like even the learning. People stay because they want to stay. They want to stay because they would like want to work with the people that they're working with in there. The way that that works is it's just company culture. So this a screenshot on here pasted is a copy of the automatic Creed. Automatic is the company that made WordPress or and still keeps WordPress. So they even have a creed which is very powerful, very straight to the point, casual. Okay, it doesn't have to be too formal. Too formal means either it has no heart or it's something that's open, like that's disregarded by others because it's boring to read. So that's along with a manifesto. Manifesto is a working mission and vision. Okay, so it's not just like mission, vision. Here's like everything. Here's like about the company. Just do a manifesto. Just do like you could do whatever you want as long as it's creative, as long as it's engaging. Okay, so formality doesn't work nowadays, especially with younger generations. Okay, make it short. Some companies put up like vision, like 20 paragraph mission vision. That doesn't actually like look enticing. I don't even want to read the first paragraph. Another thing that the WordPress advocates is what they call five for the future. Five for the future is 5% of your work every day is dedicated towards the community. Okay, so again, going back to the community, okay, it's very important for WordPress to keep the community happy and engaged. So the way that they do that is they encourage people, companies, to spend 5% of their day just answering questions online. Okay, it does so much purpose. for the company, for WordPress, for yourself. Okay. I myself is an advocate of this. I dedicate a lot of my time, more than the 5%, to the future. Okay. Future means the community, the younger generation, the new learners. So that's how we function. It's always fulfilling, and Richard Feynman might be glad that you are doing what you're doing right now. You're gonna thank yourself later. Now, next thing on my list is community support. Okay, along with the five for the future, WordPress pays for a lot of our stuff at the community level. Okay, we're not even employees of WordPress. We're just like community volunteers. But if ever that I would send an email to WordPress, say, hey, I ran out of stickers, which I have for the past month, now they'll just like send me in like a bag full of goodies from WordPress Central, and that's all for free. Again, like my meetup.com account is paid for by WordPress. So imagine like doing that instead of paying for a very expensive social media management company. That actually would amount to much less cost and much more uh, truthful, much more real interaction and engagement with the community. Another thing that I have in here is with a question mark, and there is jazz. Okay, so their love for music resonated towards the version names of the each release of WordPress. You could Google that up. We have gone to like a lot of versions already. Today's like WordPress 6. So just Google that up, and yeah, I mean, feast your eyes on all those people that are commemorated by being used as names for WordPress versions. So it also created opportunities for a lot of people. That's actually a really powerful way to grow your company, is to create opportunities. Okay, by creating opportunities, what we looking at? WordPress as a service. Okay, so this is something that's not really talked about as a term, but we all know this, that people started offering like, I'm gonna create a website for you using WordPress. I'm gonna be making a theme or a plugin, sell it as a subscription model, or another like in marketplaces like Envato. So Envato has like Code Canyon for all the WordPress plugins, Theme Forest for the themes. So this is an example. The screenshot that I have in here is an example for of a theme that's top one for I don't know, like 3-4 years now in a row. All in all, they got 825,000 sales at $69 per license. Okay, so imagine that, like if Envato is taking in like say 30-40% of that, still a lot of money. And this company Theme Fusion that created it is making their money just selling this theme. Okay, so that's a big business opportunity for a lot of people that doesn't want to do like websites every day. Just create a theme, create a plugin, put it up for sale in a marketplace, then yeah, just keep counting your money. So that's how it works. Other things that sprouted is just because WordPress is so popular. Web there are web hosting companies that are specializing in WordPress right now. You could try looking up Pantheon, WP Engine, even the popular ones like GoDaddy, HostGator. They got WordPress specific hosting, not because it's better or cheaper. It's just tweaked with WordPress, and other hostings, especially if they're using cPanel or Plesk, are using one-click install WordPress installations. So it's super easy right now to get a hosting plan, get WordPress on it, one click. So another opportunity is that this they built upon to start with and still doing right now you in WordPress.com is blogging. Okay, so it's not just blogging by yourself. You could also be a blogger for others. Just like how social media managers post social like on social networks for others, you could do that as well as a blogger. Okay, so blogging is very popular still right now because a written form is still best digested by professionals. So if you want a professional audience that's gonna be in written form, they have to read it. They have to be able to read it, convert it into like audiobook or whatever. So that's all done through blogging. And I think this is the last one on my list because I want to emphasize this that one of the main reasons that I think they made it big and still is dominating the whole market is because they are open source. They are licensed under GPL v2, which means they could exercise the four core freedoms. It's yeah, this is spelled wrong. Okay, with the four core freedoms being like you could run the program for any purpose you want. You could study how the program works, change it, and make like changes, make commits to it. The third freedom, you could redistribute it without any attributions. And the fourth freedom is to distribute copies of your modified version to others. Okay, so there are a lot of forks out there that isn't even named WordPress anymore, but they're still distributing it. Some are even actually closed source after the fork, which is yeah, I mean just okay. It's just like the way open source works. Okay, another thing that they did is they joined different foundations like um, free and open source software, Software Freedom Day, like Free Software Foundation, Digital Freedom Foundation, and they also joined causes by the government, which is like public code in the UK. Here in the Philippines, GWT or the government web template. So they did that, and yeah, I mean, it all contributed to it being one of the biggest open source projects out there. The last one that's not listed in here, I think that I would want to mention is that they are actually like, I don't know, already like said about the core freedoms, but other things that they people do is they white label WordPress, which is totally okay. Okay, so you could, without coding, you could install a plugin, remove all WordPress brandings, which is totally fine because it's open source. So that's cool. Okay, so a lot of people would say, like detractors of open source would say, one of the main things that I've been hearing is, isn't it a security like vulnerability that you're open source? No. Okay, so that's a quick answer to it. It's actually more secure than other platforms that are not open source. Why? Because the code is public. People could check it, people could hack it the way they want it, and people could experiment, do things on it. So you can't do that on a closed source system. You can't do that on a corporate system unless you pay people to do that, and which is still a very limited number of people and also are paid. So in the open source world, volunteers are just like doing their thing by the thousands and they don't need to get paid. Okay, so that's security is actually one of the strengths of being open source. Okay, so this I'm gonna be leaving you with the tagline of WordPress because it's made for artists, for creators, for poets. So the way that they put it is code is poetry. This is one of the very most beautiful taglines that any company could have made in the software industry. Okay, so I'm leaving you with again with some keywords that you would want to Google. WPAAS or
Jason, I don't think we are able to hear you. We'll just give him a few seconds, guys. Hold on. Yeah. WPAS is WordPress as a service. Yeah, Jason is back. I'll do the screen share. He can just probably talk.
All right. Okay. Thanks. All right. So I'm back on mobile. So my laptop decided that it doesn't want to work anymore. So yeah.
No problem. I've got you.
Okay. Yeah. So again, the slides would say that low code, no code. These are like some jargons that I've mentioned along the way. You might want to take a screenshot of this slide, Google it later after this, or like in during the Q&A, so you could ask more about it. Now, the last slide. Okay, please do. Next slide, please. Now, my last slide are links and hashtags. Okay, jsnbrn.com is where you will find most of my social media profile links. Even my WordPress link is in there if you want to check out my WordPress profile, which you could see badges in there that I've spoken in WordCamps. WordCamps actually the biggest event that official WordPress users are doing from time to time in regions. So I've spoken in several WordCamps already. I've contributed to the core code. Did I created one of the like most downloaded themes in the category for landing pages like years ago. I just have it in there just for dating. That way back like some years ago, I've like had one of the biggest ones. So I made plugins. I made like translations. Something that I'm yet to do is to contribute to Learn That WordPress, which is the Learn team. They do have courses for WordPress all for free. So just go to learn.wordpress.org and you can check out all the courses in there. They're all like pretty cool and made by the community as well. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Harish, for that. The next QR code on the top right is the link to this slides if you would want to a copy of this slides. That's the bit.ly link down, and then the two hashtags in there. Ask me anything. If this is the time that we'll be answering most of your questions, if ever that I would have it on my screen. And then if you ever that you are on social media too shy to ask here right now, you could use Ask Jason Bruno, and I'll be monitoring that on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram for the next few days, and then answer it in there. Or just send me a PM or DM anywhere you want to. Okay, so right now I'm opening the floor for questions. So let me just check on the chat. Okay, so Harish, I lost the chat. Sorry. Can you like read out some questions?
Absolutely, yes. I think the one we have from YouTube is, what's a webmaster for people who don't know?
All right, so yeah. Okay, before WordPress, a webmaster is someone who maintains a website. They're the ones that are adding content from time to time. So that's a webmaster.
Great.
Right.
For everybody watching, wherever you're watching this, make sure you use the chat feature to ask the questions if you have any. While we wait for questions, I have quite a few questions to ask Jason.
Sure.
Jason, first of all, very crisp and concise presentation. Loved it. I've been a WordPress developer myself, as I mentioned before, for all my life. For
Right.
beginners who don't know much about WordPress, can you talk just a little about what is WordPress.com and what is WordPress.org? And where would somebody who's a developer go to if they want to start learning about WordPress and how to develop on top of it?
All right. Yeah. So the best way to learn WordPress is by using it. If you're a seasoned developer but doesn't know how to install or doesn't have a web server on your local computer, the easiest way to have a copy of WordPress is to sign up to WordPress.com. WordPress.com is a platform that lets you sign up and be in control of your own WordPress. A very not a very limited, but a limited version of WordPress, just so that you won't break the whole system. Yeah. So yeah, that's the fastest way that you could experience WordPress. Sign up to WordPress.com.
Right. So what programming languages should I know to get started with WordPress? Is it still PHP plus MySQL, or is there something else that I need to learn?
All right, cool. So core programming, if you want to change the core, if you want to create plugins, themes, those are all in PHP. MySQL, of course, there is a bit of help from the WordPress framework, which is already has functions for sanitizing your code, so you don't have to do that as so much, and you just have to focus on PHP. So if your PHP, vanilla PHP is strong, yeah, I mean you could. Yeah, it's an easy transition. Another easy transition is a OOP PHP. Okay, so again, the PHP that's used in WordPress is procedural, but OOP and MVC PHP styles are also welcome to it. And just recently, over the past 4 or 5 years, we introduced headless WordPress, which uses WordPress REST API so that you could start using your favorite JavaScript framework to create a front end for your WordPress. Okay, so you don't even have to create a theme. You could create your own app or whatever using your favorite language. It could even be a desktop app using Java, Python, or whatever, as long as it could digest WordPress REST API.
Awesome. I think one question we have from another Jason in the chat is, what niches are associated in WordPress?
All right, cool. So that's niche. Again, I just mentioned earlier, there's no specific niche market other than creators. WordPress just wants creators to be involved in the internet, because a lot of people are like creators themselves, like artists, like dancers, so that's what WordPress is offering to people, is a platform so that you could showcase your creativity online. Okay, so another thing that is something that everyone should be realizing by now is everybody's a creator in their own world. Okay, so you just need a platform for it, right? And that's
Right.
that's what TikTok has proven. Like a lot of people are already on TikTok and creating their own videos and stuff. Right. Thanks for the question, Jason.
So if I were to create my portfolio website, or if I were to create a client website or a landing page for a marketing campaign, or if I were to build a apartment booking system, or if I were to build a hotel management system, you can pretty much do everything in WordPress. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah.
So we have
it has grown so much that it could accommodate anything that you could think of.
That's right. Yeah. So are WordPress devs considered front-end devs?
Okay, so that's a tricky one. WordPress devs are actually considered as back-end or full stack developers, because they already are, because the front end of WordPress is PHP as well. So yeah, I mean, it's in its sense, it's full stack developer.
Right. Yeah. So my follow-up question is, since you have talked about quite a lot of stats about WordPress, what do you think? What is your perspective on the WordPress so-called competitors that have popped up in the recent years, like Ghost or any other framework that says we are better than WordPress? What is your take
Yeah,
on
I
them?
mean, yeah, I mean that they could claim that they're better. I'm saying like anything is better actually. They could, but in terms of numbers, that's actually this is how I um start and end my arguments with people saying this is better, this is better. Okay, so let's look at the numbers, and 60% of the CMS market is still used by WordPress. So I don't think anything else could be better than that. Right, but yeah, I mean, you do you. Okay, so in as a developer, as creative, okay, so our main goal, our main thing is whatever works for you. Okay, so that goes for any artist. If like, I mean, a lot of people would argue about which camera is better, which phone is better, whatever works for you. The best phone that you have, the best camera that you have is the one in your pocket.
Absolutely. I think a brilliant perspective on that. I do have quite a few questions that I think will benefit the audience, but I think I'll keep it short. And the next question that I have is, if I am already an existing WordPress developer that has built a few websites for clients, etc., how can I become someone like you, like start teaching people WordPress, become part of the WordPress communities, or start my own community? Where would somebody like me go to first?
Oh, all right. So your first thing that you could do is start going to Facebook, search up WordPress groups in there, and start answering questions. Okay. So again, mentioning Richard Feynman is the more that you teach others, the more that you answer questions, the more that you learn for yourself. Okay, so it's a learning experience to be helping people out, and sooner or later you'll find yourself on the top like mentors or experts in the field. And once that happens, you could, yeah, you might get noticed, and people will say like, why don't you just start creating your own group? Yeah, or yeah, you start like reaching out to other WordPress user group leads, and they could start mentoring you and guiding you to create your own official WordPress user group, because that's a process. And yeah, and I mean, I would be very happy to help anyone who wants to establish a WordPress user group in their area. It's a process. Yeah.
Right. So there is another follow-up question, which is there a bootcamp that we can attend who offer trainings on WordPress, or how to learn development on WordPress?
A lot, actually. You'd be surprised. You could Google up WordPress Bootcamps, and there are a lot. US based are actually one of the best ones. And then in the Philippines, I actually run one of the like top coding boot camps here in the Philippines. So you could message me if you want to have more info on that boot camp, and it's WordPress centric.
Great. Yeah, I think those are the questions that we have on chat at the moment. And also, yeah, I can keep going with the questions, but
Yeah.
with the current situation in mind, I think I'll compose myself and stop myself from asking you more questions. But thank you, Jason, for spending today with us. Really appreciate you taking time out in the current situation, and looking forward to having you again. Probably like we can do a boot camp also and teach people how to get
Sure.
started with
We could do
development.
a short boot camp via AngelHack if you want. So yeah,
Perfect.
just
We'll
like
work with you on
just
that.
send me an email on that.
Perfect. Yeah, I think many who have attended today would love to see that as well. Once again, shout out to you. Thank you so much for coming and attending. And for everybody who's still here watching us across all platforms, I'm just sharing quick links of our upcoming sessions. We have 2 more this week. These are called Learn with AngelHack, where we bring you experts from various fields to come talk about them. So make sure you check out angelhack.com and sign up for those sessions. And once again, thank you so much, Jason, for coming and spending time with us today. Looking forward to doing more sessions with you. And for everybody else, thank you
Yeah,
so much for joining in on a Monday. Yeah, Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great night, morning, or whatever, wherever you're at. Yeah.
Yes. Also, shout out to my colleague Michael from AngelHack, who's been an architect of bringing Jason to this session. Thank you, Michael. And for everybody watching us today, thank you so much for attending and coming here on a Monday evening. We'll keep in touch. We'll send you an update with all our upcoming sessions so that you can come join us for all of those sessions as well. With that, we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.